Hey, I'm Di Gillett, and this is the Power of Women podcast. We're a platform that showcases and celebrates the strength, resilience and achievement of women from all walks of life. In each episode, I pose questions to my guests to peel away the layers to reveal the knowledge and the experience that shapes their narrative. So if you're feeling unseen, unheard, or simply looking for inspiration, then the Power of Women podcast is a great place to join the conversation. I'm Di Gillett, and this is the Power of Women podcast. It's actually the first year end at Power of Women, and it has been a season packed full of talking with so many fabulous females, both in Australia and around the world, which I really loved. And I've had the opportunity to speak with a female CEO in Saudi, I can't believe it, but an amazing master shaman on the Gold Coast, renowned female comedians in Australia, which are names that we all know, thought leaders, mindfulness experts, female gin distillers, and that is only scratching the surface. All of these women have powerful stories to tell and some really rich insights to share and pearls of wisdom for you to take on board. And you know, that is what the Power of Women podcast is all about. That's why I developed it, mentoring through storytelling as we unpack the narratives of inspiring women to share with you. A new episode drops every Monday. And whilst this has been a year jam-packed full of learnings, not everything I've actually learned has come from the podcast. Hey, only the other day, I learnt there are plastic sleeves to protect the arms of your glasses whilst having your hair coloured. I also learnt while I was having my nails done with my long-time nail technician the other day that vodka cleans the stains off your nail polish. Who knew? But on a more serious note, what this year has actually taught me is, if you are curious, if you are open to venturing into new territory, and if you are prepared to step outside the comfort zone, the rewards can be fabulous. You may be nervous about getting started, which I understand, as I was. You may keep making excuses as to when is a good time to launch. However, embrace the uncomfortable, because there is no better time to start than right now. So enjoy your break, however and wherever you celebrate. Whilst it has been a tumultuous year, globally, politically and socially, I'm approaching this new year with bucket loads of enthusiasm, and I am really looking forward to connecting with you in 2025.
Well, I think we all have that self-doubt. I don't think any of us escape that self-doubt or inner critic that we all have. And I think for me and for all of us, this is sort of a lifelong work in progress when we think about confidence. You know, we often look at leaders, Di, and think, wow, they're so confident and, you know, they're so experienced, but we all suffer from this self-sabotage or self-doubt. So, but for me, I think really the key to overcoming that really sort of lies in that self-awareness piece, that really understanding who I am at the core, you know, having this really strong sense of purpose, I should say, and, you know, knowing that we don't need to be perfect, because that actually doesn't exist. We just need to, I believe, really stay in line with our values. And, you know, I always talk about showing up as my most authentic self. And I think that's where people really shine, when they have that great self-awareness and they show up very authentically.
So as an experienced CEO who has led large workforces, which retail is, of women, how can female leaders support and uplift other females?
It's another really great question. And I think the thing I would start by saying is that there is enough room in this world for every woman to have success. So this is not about competition. And I still think there's a few barriers we need to break down in that area.
There's a whole podcast of another conversation.
Absolutely, there is. And, you know, I very much have built my leadership life around supporting women and lifting women up. And I've seen what happens when you do that. But we really have to stop competing with each other. We have to understand that the more we lift each other up, the more collaborative we are, the more we share, the more powerful and stronger we are standing together. So for me, I've always said, I don't ever compete with anyone in this world. I'm not competing against another woman. At the end of the day, the only person I compete with every day is myself. And that's the only person I'm trying to impress as well. Every day is myself.
There are people within organisations, not in positional authority power, who are making a difference because of volatility. Remember, small actions can make a big difference and are making a difference within the small influences that they've got. And this stuff spreads.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the level of ability to make sense of complexity, let's call that insight and wisdom. There's a lot of people around the world, myself included, doing our very best to work out ways to support the development of that younger than midlife, because that's fundamentally when it kicks in. The upside is we're living longer.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of people our age and more
who are going to be adding great ideas into communities.
I think our best's yet to come.
Yeah, I can so say that.
That said, I'm also really impressed by an enormous number of younger people.
And isn't that terrific?
Yeah, I mean, adolescence is... Here's a one way to describe adolescence. It's normal to be quite self-centred.
Hey, I know a lot of self-centred, middle-aged, older people do. So that's
actually, a lot of people don't develop the maturity beyond the adolescent sense of self.
I sort of see it, for me, as being part of this first generation of women, or first time in history of women, because it's got a few batches of us.
Yeah.
Where there's an opportunity to actually reinvent or have another crack in your 50s.
Well, that's how I view it.
Yeah. So, like, you don't have to wander around in elastic pants and start looking at retirement homes. Exactly. Not that elastic pants don't come into play at some time. They're very useful.
Yeah, I might be wearing a pair of elastic pants.
You are. They're all over you. The elastic waisted would probably be. You know, slacks.
Yes,
you haven't sort of morphed into the slacks, into the pastel or grey slacks with the saggy bumps.
Yeah.
So we're lucky that we do have an opportunity, and we're lucky that it's happened all at the same time. It's funny though, because I still hear the competing conversation about being invisible.
I know.
Which is weird because you are not invisible, Di.
No, I know.
And I don't think I'm invisible.
And you're not invisible either.
Though I do sometimes feel invisible, like when I go into a soccer shop and there's a young person serving and that Amy Schumer, the comedy comedian,
yeah.
She's done this fantastic sketch where all the women rowing in a boat over to a table because they're celebrating your last fuckable day, which is your 40th birthday. And that has really appealed to me. I find that it's really, really funny, the last fuckable day. And it basically says to women, after a certain time when you're no longer fuckable, the marketplace won't be as interested in you.
My superpower now is my intuition. I've been doing a lot of work around that, and I have always coached my clients around tuning into their intuition and letting go of that need for constant validation from external sources, other people, or feedback, that kind of thing. I'm not sure I was practicing it that well myself. And that's something that has changed a lot. I trust myself now, and I think my superpower now is my intuition. I think I trust it. It doesn't let me down. Yeah, I'm claiming that one.
That's a great one. And when you say trusting your intuition, it's, you know, that feeds into all of the self-belief characteristics and traits. So that's a fantastic superpower. absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm
Brilliant.
happy with it. I'm keeping it.
Can you tell our listeners the profile of somebody in your role typically anywhere in the world?
Typically, the average age of appointment is just before age 56, so between 55 and 56. And of course, it's skewed more to the male gender. Historically, investment banking or finance background, not legal. Maybe, someone part of the old boys club type situation. Certainly not a Gen Y expat female.
So you haven't got many peers or people in the room that look like you?
No, I don't. And but what is great is the global network of the family offices, being able to meet colleagues, because the role is very, very isolating. And, the statistics will never show the high numbers of females in the exec roles. A lot will hold vice president positions because the CEO might be a family member. But there are a number of females, but technically they're old enough to be my mother, and I would never say that to them. We call them the cool aunties. But there is a generational gap between me and them, which I can use to my benefit because I have them, as a support network.
And you raised another point. You've been, not only are you a very young appointment, you're female, but you're also not a member of the family. So, that's a trifecta in terms of being out of the box as a unique appointment within the role.
And the other thing to add to that is the family I work for is actually a Saudi royal family. And I don't ever publicly name who I work for just because I prefer to have that level of confidentiality, because people are always chasing money for investment as well. So the more I can keep it confidential, the better. But the family I work for are quite senior, and the father is, he's very well known. His career has been amazing, and he loves it. He will say, Cassandra is, millennial. She's young and she's my CEO.
Self-belief. Lack of self-belief. If I had $1 for every time I heard a smart, amazing, competent woman say, I've got this dream, but who am I to think I can? Where does that come from? Who am I to think and I'm like, well, who are you to think you can't?
Where do we think that comes from?
I honestly think that it comes from societal conditioning. And I still think it comes back to the basics of how we raise boys versus girls, especially women of our generation. It's definitely changing now because a lot of people are raising their children gender neutral, which I think helps. But the reality is you can do that, but there's still a lot going on in our world that's like you're a girl and you're this. And therefore, from our generation, we were raised to be good girls. Don't rock the boat. Don't be loud. Don't be difficult. Don't be outspoken, because like they say, women now that are outspoken get criticised no end. Like a man who speaks up and out is like, oh, he's powerful, he's assertive. She's a complainer. She's a whinger. She's a bitch. I hate the term, but it's the truth. So what happens is we are held to a completely different standard. And that standard is generally about make sure you make others happy, which leads into people-pleasing perfectionism, which I see so much in my high-performing clients. And don't rock the boat.
Wine tasting, taste, spit it out. What do you do with gin?
Well, I drink it.
Of course you do.
When we do tastings, you're taking in such a small amount. So when you're taking in tastings,
What's the alcoholic proof level of gin?
So it can vary between 38%
Yeah,
to
so a little more than wine. So
57%.
You're drinking a little amount, but it's got some punch. Hey, as always, please subscribe and follow the Power of Women podcast on whatever platform you get your content. And engage with me on the socials. Until next time. If you're loving the Power of Women podcast, be sure to jump on to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss an episode.